I stopped or started and stopped a couple times there. Long story short, I updated my computer and I got a new monitor, and it's got a super big resolution. And I guess whatever happened, the my stream settings were causing it to drop frames, basically. Whatever. Long story short, I updated my computer. I was dropping frames, so I had to play with my settings a bunch until I got to a point where it wasn't doing that. And I think I got it good. I was just doing a test. I was playing a game of Blood Bowl and streaming to like a test account I have, and I think we're good now to not drop frames. And I'll keep an eye out and see if it's going on. So, getting back to it, we haven't played either of my Pathfinder games in about a month now, 3 weeks almost, probably 4 weeks. Um, we missed 2 sessions of the Odyssey campaign. That's the Pathfinder 2 game I run where everybody's a goblin and we're kind of doing the Odyssey. And my other campaign is a Pathfinder 1 game. It's a Hell's Vengeance. We don't stream that one yet. We might change that. I might start streaming that. But we do post recordings to the YouTube channel if you go check that out. And that one also hasn't played in like 3 or 4 weeks. And the reason for that is, it's summertime. Things are kind of opening back up in the U.S. People are seeing family. People are doing things for the first time in a year and a half, and still being cautious because there's all the variants and stuff going on out there. But things are opening up, and people are actually starting to do things. So we missed a couple of sessions there, and we are picking back up again this Saturday. So in a couple of days, the end of this week, we will be having a session. So now I have to try to remember what the heck was going on a month ago, what happened in the last session, and what's going to go on in the next session. So, the last session started here in the watering hole. And in the session before that, they had met Kirkee. So they did a whole bunch of stuff in the session before that, and they ended up getting to this watering hole, and it was kind of like the goal of 2 sessions ago. They washed up on the beach, they survived a bunch of attacks, and they were just looking for water. They were thirsty and exhausted. They needed a place to sleep, and they needed fresh water. So they found this place, and they started taking naps in shifts. And I think in the middle of the second shift, Kirkee came by. And Kirkee was riding this lion, and she basically just came to the water and was filling up water bottles. Squirrel and Frankko, I believe, I think it was Squirrel and Frankko. They were kind of hiding in the trees. They saw her coming because Squirrel had set an alarm trap or an alarm snare. So Squirrel heard his snare go off, and they started sneaking the trees. Kirkee immediately saw Squirrel, but not Frankko, and acted, acknowledged him, but didn't really care. Basically, was like very nonchalant, very, I don't care that you're there. I don't care what you think you're gonna do. And Squirrel eventually came down and talked to her, and she was very genial. She said, hey, come on, you can come to my villa if you want. She was talking about the forest. She joked about his name being Squirrel, and she's a friend to all animals, so that maybe they'll be friends, blah, blah, blah. So they had this discussion, and Squirrel is, for lack of a better word, he's squirrely. Squirrel did not like that this person invited them back to the villa. He wanted to stay in the woods, but he took that information back to the party. I think during that time, everybody but G-Pain woke up. So G-Pain, the bard, was still sleeping during that, but everybody else woke up and was talking about it. They let G-Pain continue sleeping, and they had a conversation basically trying to decide, do we want to go and sleep at the villa, or do we want to rest here and then go? And Squirrel was very adamant about, we should stay here. We're exhausted. Like, they were statistically exhausted. They were tired. They washed up on the shore. We should just rest before we go anywhere else. We don't want to go to some stranger's house while we're all exhausted and, out of spells or whatever it is. Puck initially agreed with that, and I think even for whatever reason was the one that was pitching, like, if we're gonna sleep somewhere, we should sleep in a bed. Like, if we have the option to sleep in a bed, we can do that. If she wanted to kill us, she would have killed us. She was riding a giant lion, a graying old lion. If she wanted us dead, she would have killed us. Like, she's not going to take us to her house and kill us. So they had a discussion, and I somehow even won. And they woke up G-Pain, and in the middle of the night, they went over to Kirkee's villa. And it was really cool. I really liked that. I set up the lighting. I think I did this in another session. We talked about it. So it was really cool that I got to do like the day and night transitions. They showed up at the night, and they came in. They did a bunch of talking. They did some role playing, and then Kirkee left. But notably, one of the things that I was sure to mention was that there were, I think I said there's 4 koi fish in this pond in front, and I made a note of saying that one of them was exceptionally beautiful. It was the large white and gold fish, like white and orange fish, with these golden eyes, these beautiful golden eyes. Um, and that was fun. And then basically they came in, they were talking, and Even had caught a bunch of crabs that day, and he said that he wanted to prepare them as part of a show of thanks. And in the back of my mind, I'm thinking my players are fairly well read. They know what the Odyssey is. They've already figured out that this is the Odyssey, and her name is Kirkee, which is not all that far from Cersei. And if you actually if you pronounce it in the Greek way, it's pretty close to what name should be. So I'm pretty sure they knew what was going on. I think at least half of them knew what was going on here. And I thought that even saying that he wanted to cook was kind of a little bit of a tell. Like maybe he knew what was going on. He wanted to prepare food so that Kirkee wasn't giving them food, because in the Odyssey, Kirkee was an herbalist who put special herbs or chemicals, or you want to call them, into the food and the drink, and then turn people into animals. So I figured he's a little bit on the nose there. He thinks he knows what's going on. So I let it happen though, and Kirkee said that she would go get her chef and that she would help even do the cooking. So she went away for a while, and the party watched as she went over here. And I think during this time, G-Pain and Puck, I think, went to bed immediately. And Frankko, I think, also went to bed immediately. And Squirrel was basically just doing a patrol around the courtyard. So Squirrel was going, like, from one spot to another, kind of just in like a loop. And he was role-playing it as though he's exhausted. So, like, he's, like, not falling asleep, but, like, kind of nodding off and, like, barely shuffling around and doing this patrol. And even went into the kitchen. And so Squirrel noticed that Kirkee went into this room and did something, and he didn't follow. He didn't like sneak up and actually spy on her, but she was only there for a couple of minutes, and then she came out and she went up to here to like this servant chambers area. And when she came back, she was met with Rosixi over here. So Rosixi is a gnome, and that was let me see, Honestly, Kirkee, Rosixi. So a gnome that was helping the Even cook. She's the like one of the chefs of Kirkee's villa, and she has these golden eyes. And I dropped that in, and I didn't mention it initially. I dropped the photo, and I guess you could confuse those for brown, but I was hoping they'd be seen as kind of golden. So I dropped that in, and then later in passing, I mentioned her eyes were golden and that she was very pale white. And the obvious, I was being a little obvious with it. I wasn't going too subtle with it. That this was that golden-eyed fish that I happened to mention before. Again, I'm not burying the lead here. I'm not making it impossible to know. Like, and they've already got inklings that this was going on. This is kind of now just confirming your inklings. So they're talking for a while. They're helping cook, and Rosixi is reserved and a little afraid, but reveals nothing. And I think Squirrel specifically asked, does she look like she's been harmed? Like, is Kirkee mistreating her? And nothing was visible like that. But Rosixi did help Even cook. Even brutally failed one of his chef's checks. I forget what it was. Like, I think he has cooking lore or something like that. What does he have? He has... Where are my skills at? I thought he had... Oh, I guess we just use craft for it. He's a chef, and I think we just use crafting for it. So he botched his craft check, and Rosixi beat him on it. So basically, he was proposing what they should do with the crabs, and Rosixi was like, no, that's not how you prepare crabs, or that's not what I would do. He was very polite about it. But together they prepared some food, and it was like still the middle of the night. Like, they walked over here in the middle of the night. They started their rest routine early because they were so exhausted, and then they decided in the middle of the rest to come over here. So it was like the middle of the night. Kirkee let the chef go there, and they prepared food. And then when they were done, Even went to bed. And I think that basically they swapped rotations or whatever. So Squirrel continued his thing, and then when other people woke up, they all went to bed. One thing they did notice as well, in addition to that, is that Kirkee went into her room for a while, but then she came out and she went up here, and she wasn't seen again. And the reason I had that happen is because Kirkee is actually like a nymph. She's like a water aquatic nymph. Is the way at least the way I'm statting her up in this campaign. That's neither here nor there in terms of actual mythology. But she slept in this pool. She's got this very nice pool, and she went up here and she slept in it. And again, they don't know that this has been locked. They haven't gotten in there yet. But I think Squirrel or somebody saw that it was a large like bathing pool, and that she was in there all night. And no one said anything about it yet, but I just wanted to drop that there in case it ever comes up. I doubt they're ever gonna fight or whatever with her. But in case it comes up, there's been a hint that she's some sort of water nymph. So they all took their naps. They all came back out, and there was a bunch of role playing that happened with Kirkee between the players with Rosixi. Puck cut a hair out of the graying lion, which again is something I don't expect. I never expect Puck. So Puck, if you haven't been watching, is he's an oracle. He's a cosmos oracle, and the way he also has the barber background, because I think he saw the barber background. He's like, this is ludicrous. I have to be a barber, and he's really leaning into it. And his gimmick is that he reads hair like tea leaves. Like he cuts people's hair and he watches the way it falls, and thinks he can sense things in them, and he reads them like tea leaves and kind of senses the future or the destiny of a person, the power of a person. And he's been leaning really hard into it, and he's constantly asking NPCs and things like, "Can I have some of your hair?" Or like when they were fighting elves in the first bit of the campaign, he would in the middle of combat like forego an attack to try to clip their hair in the middle of a fight. And yeah, he's really going into it. And in any event, he wanted to cut the mane of the lion, and he gave it, I forgot what it was, but it was like a bowl cut or something silly. It was some hilarious image that Puck had shared in Discord. But basically he threw him some meat and he was calm. And again, all of the animals that were around have been very like placid and like preternaturally docile, I guess. Even this lion that she rides around, he's definitely like, a beast. He's a beast of an animal, but was completely controlled, completely docile, barely even acknowledged the goblins when they were around. Hasn't roared or growled, things like that. So Puck gave him a haircut, and it was it was a weird haircut, but he did save some of the mane. And then when he did his thing, when he did the tea leaf thing, he was expecting, oh, I'm doing this. He's a lion. I'm gonna get like whatever. And I dropped no, this is something else. This is like something powerful. This was a powerful lion. He was meant for more than this. You get a feeling that this lion has a destiny, as some of the other creatures you've interacted with. This seems like a powerful destiny. And Puck and the player, Chris, was kind of stunned with that. He didn't know what was going on. But this is a good tie-in because that's Opilius. That is their general that they were on a boat with before, that they believe is shipwrecked and missing or dead. Opilius is the lion. Kirkee has already worked her alchemical magic on a bunch of their crew, and that is Opilius. So I'm not sure if that part is obvious. I wanted to give that a little bit. If they're already running with the idea that Kirkee is turning people into animals, and this is probably a person, and all I said so far is it has a graying mane, and I didn't really give any throwbacks to Opilius himself. So Opilius, again, he's got gray hair. He's kind of Greek-ish. And that's pretty much all I've said so far, is that he's got a graying mane. And not a direct line, not as direct as the golden-eyed gnome. But I'm hoping there's something there. And now Puck is fascinated with this lion. That something's up with this lion. Yeah, and then there was a bunch of other role-playing that happened during the night. And that was pretty good. And what else happened? At some point, I don't remember when, it was either at night or during the morning, someone went into this room I think it was probably Squirrel. He went to this room after Kirkee had left and gone to bed or whatever, to see, like, what did Kirkee do? Like, is there anything disturbed, or is it obvious, kind of look at footprints? And he looked around and he didn't see anything. He rolled some perception checks and didn't see anything. Someone else went in there, I think it was G-Pain. And they rolled very well in perception check, and they noticed that one of the fish was missing. And the obvious question was it the beautiful fish with the golden eyes? And yes, of course it was that fish. Of course it was the one of the 4 fish that I mentioned. And then even I'm not even sure if he even was awake. I think he was, but even immediately said like, "What color were the gnome's eyes?" And I was like, "They were golden." I showed the picture again, and then it clicked. Like basically, if it hadn't clicked, I just bashed her over the head with it. We're in the Odyssey. This is Kirkee's island, and an animal is missing, and a person has appeared. So, like I said in one of my other prep sessions, the way that I'm doing it, my little twist on it, is that not only does Kirkee turn people into animals, but she has the ability to turn them back. She has like a potion or whatever you want to call it. She does some herbalism, and can makes a small potion that can turn someone back for like a set number of hours, like 4 hours, 8 hours, whatever it is, whatever she needs. Like when she needs the chef, she goes over to the pool, she takes one of the fish, she puts a little potion in his mouth, and then for 4 hours or 8 hours or a day, whatever she needs, that gnome turns back into a gnome. The fish is a gnome now. And they all like, they've been through this. All like the people who have been here, like that gnome might have been Kirkee's pet for a while now. They fully understand that they'll turn back into a fish in 4 hours. So if they try to run away, they'll just in the middle of the forest turn into a fish and die. So basically they're trapped, they're prisoners, and they don't try anymore. They don't even want to upset Kirkee because they know they'll turn into animals. And I'm ruling that the animals are, again, I've described them as docile and calm, but I'm saying they're not like human intelligent. Like they're not themselves in animal form. I didn't actually look up the rules for polymorph or baleful polymorph, but I imagine it's a similar effect. And I hope or think that it reduces your mental stats. So long story short, I'm kind of just hand waving all that and saying that's how it works. So they figured out that this fish is missing and the chef is here. So they started talking about it internally, both as players and as characters, about what's going on with this. The fish is missing. What's going on? The gnome has golden eyes. So they're having all this conversation, and then Kirkee wakes up, and it's breakfast time. And Rosixi had been preparing the crabs. She basically made crab omelets and stuff for breakfast. She prepared all the stuff, and she set the table, and all the goblins piled in, and Kirkee sat there at the head of the table over here. And it was daytime, so I got to do the cool the cool daytime transition. And they were all sitting down to eat, and Rosixi went to leave. Like Kirkee said, that'll be all, and nodded to Rosixi. And someone I think even said, "Will Rosixi be joining us?" And Kirkee's like, "Oh no, that would not be proper." Basically, like saying like the servants don't eat at the table. No. And they were okay with that, and they had another role playing scene with Kirkee. And they were talking about things like, have you had visitors before? How long have you been on the island? Things like that. And most of it was just, casual chat. But there were a couple things that I dropped more importantly. So somebody asked how long she'd been there. And she just said, like, far too long. And she got very serious and almost a little angry when she answered that. Like, she basically, she's kind of trapped here. And it's been a long time. And then I think they were talking about, were there people here before? And she said, "Oh yes." And how did they get away? And she said, like, "Oh, they flew or sailed or moved between the spaces." And there was a whole conversation about what move between the spaces mean. And between their knowledge and the little bit they poked out of Kirkee, they were describing like plane shifting and like Fae moving between planes and things like that. And of all the people, G-Pain had the most meaningful conversation with Kirkee about that. He was basically saying like, "Oh, I've summoned Fae before." Like he was trying to understand what she meant by move between the spaces, and she says, "Oh, the Fae can do it." And he says, "Oh, I can summon Fae," and he does have the summon Fae spell, whatever it is. He summoned like a tooth fairy in one of the encounters. They're horrible monsters. And she was like, "And where do you summon them from?" He's like, I never thought about it before." And she basically they did like a bunch of hand gestures. She was trying to teach him like you're not just turning them into existence out of thin air. You're pulling them from somewhere. You're moving them between the spaces. And they went back and forth. And I think G-Pain now understands that there are things that can move between the spaces. And earlier, I think in a previous session, they had talked to her. Oh, I guess maybe it was this session. They had talked to her. Are those the Fae on the beach that they fought back in this washed up encounter? There were a bunch of gremlins here. They're all dead now, right? But yeah, there were like some Pugwumpies and I think one Jinkin, and they said, "Are those with you? Are those your people?" And she said, "Oh no, those hideous beasts. They move between the spaces." And they're like, "Whoa, what do you mean move between the spaces?" And then there was a whole conversation. But yeah, so that was pretty much it. And they got the idea between the conversation and some knowledge rolls that Franco and G-Pain both believe that with all of the wrecks they saw on the beach and the fact that there's enough like trees for lumber and stuff like that, that they could probably build some sort of simple ship. And that's kind of where I want the story to go. Anyway, I have this idea that they're going to be like, this is the Odyssey. You got to go ahead and do the Odyssey stuff. You got to start going to other islands. So I have this goblin sloop over here. See if my mods all still work. I haven't looked at it since I updated stuff. So yeah, so basically there's this goblin sloop, and this is by Limithron, and it's pretty cool. It's made like you can tell like the sails are like just sheets sewn together and stuff like that. I wish there was more beat up stuff on the ship itself, but I wanted it to look like this is like a goblin ship that they kind of just stitched together. This is the best I could come up with, and has this cool parallax mod. So like when you're at sea, the sea's slowly moving. So like this is gonna be like, I guess, the home screen or whatever you want to call it for the campaign. This is going to be their ship where they do things at. So they're going to build this ship, but I believe it's going to take them a couple of days because I want them still on the island. I want them still with Kirkee. But yeah, we'll get back to that later. But this is where we're going to end up. But they had these conversations, and then I think during the meal, or I don't remember exactly when, but at some point someone left. Maybe they went to say, "Oh, I have to go use the restroom," because they have a restroom. And they checked on Rosixi. Like someone went into the kitchen and Rosixi wasn't there. And they went to the servants area and Rosixi wasn't there. And basically they were looking around for them. And then they came back and Squirrel kind of laid it down. He says like, "How come, where'd Rosixi go? Or how come, what happened to the fish?" That's what happened. They said, "What happened to the fish?" And she's like, "What do you mean?" He's like, the beautiful golden fish with the golden eyes. What happened to it?" And she's like, "What do you mean what happened to it?" He's like, "It's missing." And Kirkee got up out of her chair and ran over. And she's like, "Oh, thank goodness, you had me scared for a minute. Is this some sort of a joke?" And the fish was in the pond again. So they couldn't find Rosixi, and the fish was back in the pond. And they basically, again, it's very much I'm beating you over the head with it. And I was having a good time doing it, and they were having a good time figuring it out. But then, they just went back to eating. And they all kind of just looked at each other like, I don't know if it was terrified or just general concern. Like, this is happening. People are turning into animals. But the breakfast was there, and Even just started eating. Even was exhausted, well, rested from being exhausted and hungry. He just plowed into it. And again, I have my suspicions that Nas, the person playing Even, knows exactly what's going on, and he's going into it. So he started eating. Everybody else was a little more reserved, but eventually everybody did eat. Even Squirrel, who was the most concerned. And I know that Will has read the Odyssey. Will did some prose write-ups for his character, like between sessions, and he's channeling some deep cut Greek mythology. So I'm pretty sure he's into this. But yeah, they all ate it. Puck did cast Detect Magic on it. So, and I made a point of noting that, like, it's not like you can't really do it stealthily unless you have, feats and stuff for that. Like, he was basically casting a spell at the table. And it's like, are you sure you want to do that? You want to, in front of Kirkee, like, start doing magic at a table? And Squirrel tried to bluff it that, "Oh, this is a goblin ritual before a meal. We always do this." Like, basically, like, "Oh, this is a goblin prayer." And he's like, "Oh, we should all do this." And he failed his bluff check, and Puck failed his bluff check. So Kirkee just knew they were straight up lying to him. And she also detected, like, she knew what casting a spell is. So she watched him do it, and she not phased. She didn't care. And allowed it to happen, and they detected no magic. And that made Puck and Squirrel more confident to eat it. And in the back of my mind, I checked it after the session, but I made the call in the session that alchemy isn't magic. It's not. So if she has herbs or chemicals or like potions splattered in that crab omelets they're eating, that's not magic. So it wouldn't detect as magic. That's my ruling that I made on the spot. If you're watching this and you play Pathfinder and want to tell me I'm wrong, go ahead and do so. But that's the ruling I made. So the stuff was in there. Kirkee's herbs were in there. Rosixi helped prepare the food. The herbs were in there. So they have eaten the things that are supposed to turn them into animals. And as I mentioned in a previous session, they're not going to turn into animals. I haven't decided if I wanted to have some side effects happen or not. Like, for example, Even was playing up how some of the goblins are animal-like. Like Squirrel is a tree dweller goblin, and there's something like monkeys, and like some of them he said some of them might even have tails. Uh, Even is a shark instinct barbarian, so he's got like rows of shark teeth and things like that. Um, so they were, and Puck is squishy. I don't know what that would be like, but some kind of animal squishes. And he was making this argument like these, goblins are kind of like animals. And I thought it'd be funny to have like just have Squirrel grow a tail. or to have him be a little fuzzy, or like have his arms like super fuzzy, like they're growing hair or something like that. But I haven't really thought too far about that. I might do that. I haven't decided. I think I might. I think Squirrel having a tail would be hilarious. Like having him grow a monkey tail. Having him grow like a squirrel tail would be a little weird. But having him grow a tiny little monkey tail and then giving him some tiny benefits. So make it weird, make it uncomfortable. Like you've got a monkey tail now, and it doesn't feel good in your pants, so you've got to cut a hole in your pants. Oh hey, what's Takim? I can't pronounce that very well. But yeah, you found me on YouTube? Are you watching the Glob Odyssey, or are you watching the Hell's Vengeance stuff? Let me pull up my chat over here, actually, because that would actually make it much easier to read, because I have things going on multiple monitors. All right. Yeah, so are you watching all the campaigns, or this one, that one? What are you watching? Pop out chat. Thank you. All right. Yeah, so I'm thinking I might do some animal stuff, and I think I'm going to actually open my notes now. Oh yeah, okay. Oh, you've been watching the session prep stuff? That's really cool. I'm curious how much people actually care or like the session prep stuff, because I ramble a bunch. It's basically stuff that I kind of just talk about what I'm thinking and kind of go with it. And I haven't done like a lot of statting up of things recently. Why aren't you loading yet? I was loading notes and they're not actually loading. But yeah, so anyway, I was talking about they've already eaten the food that will turn them into animals, but I've decided the goblins are not going to turn into animals. I'm kind of just hand waving the fact that goblins have weird physiques, or they eat garbage or whatever it is. Goblin stomachs are destroying the chemicals that Kirkee has put into their food, and they are not turning into animals. I did want to make a note here about the animal effects. Grows a monkey tail. Even gets gills or scales, or it's like he's got like a shark basically, something like that. So maybe not all of them. Yeah. There a lot of people are still playing Pathfinder 1, because I guess when D&D 5 split from Pathfinder, I guess was it 4 or 5? I don't remember. When they split from Pathfinder, a lot of the people that stayed to play Pathfinder wanted to play the grognardy super min-max 3.5 era stuff, and I enjoy that a lot too. I'm running a 3.5 campaign. I'm running the Hell's Vengeance stuff, and my players are all like mostly STEM people, like engineers, and they are min-maxing. They're squeezing out every +1 they can from every angle, and some people really love that. And that's not what Pathfinder 2 is about. Pathfinder is not about squeezing everything out. It's about streamlining things and making it so that things don't stack as much. So it's just easier to play. It's faster to play. And I think I like it better. I can't say for certain, because like I played 3.5 for so long. I played Pathfinder for so long. But I definitely feel like the sessions move quicker in 2E. And yeah, I'm definitely interested in hearing what other Pathfinder GMs are out there, what they're running, what they're doing, and how things are going for them. So yeah, thanks for coming by. It's nice talking to you. So yeah, so basically, like I said, they're not going to turn into animals. They're not going to turn into animals. I'm going to give them some like stomach aches, is what I had there on the list. was gonna give them like stomach aches, and they have this coldness that spreads throughout their bodies. And then maybe I give a couple of them. Maybe I'll make them make fort saves or something like that, and I'll give them an animal effect. And like for example, the monkey's tail on squirrel. Again, I want it to be weird. Like, oh, you feel it in your pants. It's too tight. You have to cut a hole in your pants to let this monkey tail out. And then maybe give him a statistical benefit. Like maybe give him a +1 when he climbs or something like that. Like it's not a prehensile tail. It's not going to be holding a weapon or doing potions or anything like that. But just like some small bonus. Like +1 to climb. Because he climbs all the time. So I figured it'd be a nice one like that. And maybe I come up with everybody else too. Let's see, like who else was there? G-Pain was eating. Frankko. Puck. So I don't know what other animals they would be. But I'll think about it. Trying to figure out like Puck, he squeezes a lot. And like in my mind, the things that squeeze are like hamsters and stuff like that. I don't know what else squeezes. I don't want to give him a hamster though. But yeah, giving some or all of them minor animal bonuses that tell like your body is changing, it is affected by this, but you're not turning into an animal. And Kirkee is going to observe this. So basically, Kirkee, I want them to stay on this island for a couple of days. They're going to try to build their boats. An octopus. Nas loves octopi. He is a shark barbarian, though, so I figure I should throw a shark at him. But yeah, they love octopi. And if you have watched, or if you want to go back and watch, there is a one of the sessions of this campaign, they went into a temple of Gazre, and they ended up fighting an octopus. Because there was a Triton there that summoned one, and it was a reef octopus. And it was really badass. Because they got really close to it. It had an ability to attack everybody. Oh, yeah, the octopi do squeeze through stuff. You're right. That's interesting. And Nas would love that. Yeah, so if Puck got something octopus-like, that would be interesting. Puck has, like, 1 hair. I'm not sure how much you know about the campaign. I wish I had... Do I have pictures? Let me see if I can find it. I know I have them on Discord, so I might be able to go and grab them quickly. Come on. I gotta add them to the VTT. I gotta have them ready as handouts, I guess. But, come on. That's Frankko. Scrolling through a lot of text to find it. That's the final picture. Where is the, sorry, that's a sketch. Where's the final picture? Don't know. Not there. Alright, I'll have to find it later. But yeah, so he's got like this 1 tiny hair that kind of floats, because again, he's a Cosmos Oracle, and like the more times he uses his Oracle abilities, the lighter and more ephemeral he gets. And he's just role playing that like he's got this 1 hair on his bald head that kind of just floats and points in different directions and stuff like that. So I don't want to make it like a tentacle. Like when you said octopus, my immediate thought was make the hair a tentacle, but I don't want to do that to his hair. But yeah, anyway, that's what's going on there. So Kirkee is going to be interested in this. So the goblins are here, and they want to go make a boat. So they basically decided, and I think G-Pain and Frankko, who have sailing lore and have some craft skills between them, have decided they can totally build a boat out of the scraps of other boats, the wrecks of other boats, and they want to get off the island. So that's what they want to do. They want to go and leave. He found Oryx's axe. Oryx is a dwarf that's a part of his backstory. It was basically all of these goblins are like a commando squad in a troop of all sorts of races, like dwarves, humans, gnomes, whatever. And they were all shipwrecked here, and their troop is missing. And long story short, a bunch of their troop have been turned into animals. I said before, this lion is actually their general, and they've got some hints to that. I don't know if they've made that jump yet, but they've gotten some hints. And the dwarves that Even cares about have turned into pigs and boars. And we'll get there in a little bit when we're talking more about what ruined the session. But Even, he found Oryx's axe. He found the dwarf's axe. When they fought the Fae had it, basically. The Fae had looted the dwarves. And he wants to go find them, figure out if they're still alive. So he actually asked Kirkee, can you help us find them? And Kirkee said that she would talk to the birds. And again, she said this like nonchalant, like, yeah, I'll talk to the birds. Like, I do that. And I think Even talked to Rosixi during the night when they were making food and stuff, and Rosixi called her like an animal whisperer. Do you not have those? And Even was surprised. He had never heard of that. So I was trying to play it up like, oh, maybe she's like a druid, maybe she does, but she can actually go talk to the birds. And she told him, I'll talk to the birds, and they'll see if they can find any dwarves on the island. I haven't heard anything. And that was a lie. Not that it mattered because her deception was through the roof. But that was a lie because she has met Auric and the dwarves and the other people, a lot of the other people in his troop. They were here before. They washed up before the goblins did, and they have already eaten here. They have already turned into animals. So that's going to happen. And like I said, the rest of the party kind of wants to make the boat and get the hell out of here. But I'm going to rule that it takes them several days to make the boat. Let's just say it takes them like 4 days to make the boat. So they have to decide what they're going to do in those 4 days. Obviously, they could spend all day on the beach fixing things, but I think Even at least is going to want to wander around and try to find his friends. And they still have to decide, like, are they going to sleep in the woods? Are they going to come back to the villa? What's going on? Nothing bad has happened. Maybe one of them has a monkey tail, but they haven't turned into animals. But yeah, so I'm hoping they come back, and if they don't, I think Kirkee will find them. If they're hanging out at the beach, I think Kirkee's going to come back to them and tell them, oh, the birds came back. They haven't seen any dwarves. And kind of just have her talk a bit more. Because one of the other things that I didn't really touch on here is the Kirkee as an informant quest giver. So basically, Kirkee's bound her island, and that has come up in the campaign. They asked specifically, like, why haven't you left, or would you come with us if we were sailing away? And she was kind of, again, coy about it at first. She wasn't giving up the information, but eventually she admitted that she can't leave. And they said that they were resourceful and they could try to help if she wanted. And she basically said, like, flat out, I don't believe you have the power to do that. Implying that something has bound her here in a meaningful way. Like the gods have cursed her to be here, basically. And then during the conversation, they talked about, like, oh, there's a wandering island, and she mentioned a couple of the islands around, but I never really turned her into a quest giver so much. Like, I mentioned that, oh, there was an island with giant lizards. There's this wandering island, which is, I think G-Pain actually made a knowledge check and figured out that it's a dragon turtle that is moving around like in a feeding circle, basically. It's just going around its feeding ground over and over again on a predictable schedule. And there's a tiny little tower there. We'll talk about that if we hop over to that map. But basically, she had mentioned a couple of islands nearby, and that, some people sell them, but she never has, and blah, 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 blah. So the party's all about making a boat and getting off here. But I'd like Kirkee to talk to them again, and basically, once she sees them building a boat and seeing that they haven't turned into animals, she is intrigued by them. So she wants to know why they haven't turned into animals, and she wants to try different things. Maybe a different herb or a different potion will make them turn into animals. So she wants them to come back to the villa. She wants them to continue eating, and she wants to keep trying different potions on them to make them turn into animals. And she's not, like, aggressive or nefarious other than that. So as long as they keep not turning into animals, she's not gonna, like, throw them in jail or hurt them or attack them directly, things like that. She finds it more curious than anything else. And she's been around for a while. And at the end of the day, if these goblins get off the island, it's not the end of the world for her. She's got tons of pets. She's not insane for what she is. She's not insane. So I'd like for her to eventually become kind of like a quest giver. Like, once she sees the goblins are leaving the island, like their boat is actually getting ready to the point of leaving, she can mention, like, hey, if you're going to that lizard island, can you pick me up some of these? And she will hand them an owlbear's claw, or it's going to be a raptor's claw, but statistically in the game it's a 2E item. It's a talisman called an owlbear's claw, which lets you use the critical specialization effect of a weapon without actually having the feat. So, if you've got a hammer and you crit with it, you can shatter your talisman, your owlbear claw, to get the critical effect. I think with hammers, I think is knocking down. And there's a bunch of other really cool ones, like bows and arrows can pin people to walls and stuff like that. So the critical specialization effects are neat, and owlbear claws lets you use them at really low levels when you wouldn't have a possibility of having the feat. So she can give them one and say, if you're going to this lizard island and you find these, and she'll describe raptors, if you bring me these claws, I can imbue them with magic. So if you bring me, like, for every 3 you bring me, I'll give you one or whatever. If you bring me a bunch, I'll make you some. And she'll give them one as, like, a gesture of good faith. Like, I can't leave the island, but if you're leaving the island and you want to go a few days north, there's an island full of giant lizards. If you can find more of these, bring them to me, and I will give you more of these. No, I don't want to have her join the party. So yeah, So yeah, correct. She can't leave it. So they kind of hinted at that. They were basically saying like, if we leave on this boat, would you come with us? And she says, oh, I can't. And they pressed the issue. And long story short, no, she's stuck here. She's cursed, whatever, by Gazra or whatever God put her on this island. And that's going to be true for a lot of the people here in the Odyssey. A lot of the people that they bump into are going to be either stuck on their islands or otherwise limited in what they can do. So yeah, so she can't leave. Like, she's very powerful, and she could have built a boat under her own power, but she can't leave, and she's just having fun with her pets on her island, basically. But yeah, if she realizes they're leaving and they're not going to become her pets, she's going to try to be nice to them and try to get them to do things for her. Like, go ahead and bring me these the raptor claws, because I can make these powerful items for you, and I can have some for myself too. Oh, also, she's going to ask for specifically if any of the lizards, if you find any eggs that you can retrieve, I'd love to add them to my menagerie, because she's got all kinds of animals on this island. They've seen, obviously the lion is a panther that's been falling a little bit. Lots of monkeys, birds, all sorts of things. But she doesn't have any dinosaurs on the island. They didn't see any of those. So if you can retrieve any of the eggs, basically she can study them and start breeding them on the island, or turning people into them theoretically. So that's one of the quests she can offer. Like, if you go to Lizard Island, get me that stuff. Another one is an old hag. So I didn't fully build this one out yet, but it's kind of an idea I have, where there's going to be an island where there's an old hag, Leona Siltstew is what I called her, and basically it's an enemy of Kirkee. So it's going to be a I forgot what kind of hag I was going to make it. A green hag, I think. I forget. Let me see if I have notes for it. Do no. Do I have this whole thing about island ideas we talked about? Is there a hag? I think they're called the Dream Island. Did they move it to its own file already? Let me see. Kirkee's Island. It's for the other campaign. Oh, nope. Nope. Dream Island. There it is. It's its own file. Okay. So yeah, so there you go. So basically, this was an idea I was talking to Bijo about. So one of my viewers, my fans, has become a player in my campaign. So he's not going to be joining the session preps anymore, which is kind of sad, because he and I bounced a bunch of ideas off the wall for a while, off each other, or whatever you want to say. And one of the ideas he had was kind of this island of dreams and nightmares, and I really want to play this up. So basically, there's a hag there that's kind of an enemy of Kirkee, and it's gonna be a hag. And I think I decided on a green one because CR wise it fit, and also green hags hate beauty. Like, they go out of their way to spite beautiful people, and I'm gonna play it up that Kirkee is exceedingly beautiful. And basically, Kirkee and this hag, even though they can't leave their islands, they know of each other. They've met each other at some point, and they hate each other. This is what Kirkee looks like. This is the art I chose for Kirkee. So yeah, so basically, this hag hates Kirkee and hates that she's so beautiful. And to spite her, there's this story that I wrote up, just a very simple thing. Basically, there was at one point an angel-like thing, basically like a Hermes type character that was kind of flying between islands. He could move between the islands, which was a big deal. And yeah, exactly, he was a really good viewer. And then basically he's basically said he has a Saturday campaign he was running himself, and I think it's winding up soon, or like it started missing sessions. And he's like, yeah, I want to, if you want, I can join the campaign. And I've set it up so it's supposed to be like West Marches. Basically, if we have enough people for a session every other week, we're playing. And even if that means it's 3 people or 5 people, whatever it is. And like, you don't have to make every session is the gimmick. And the idea initially was that, it's going to be the Odyssey. So like, people are on a, everybody, all the goblins are on the boat, and you just go to whatever island you want, you do some stuff, and you're done. I'm not sure that that's going to work in practice, because I think some of the sessions, we only play for 3 hours. I think some of the islands, it's not going to be like a wrap-upable in 3-hour kind of thing. So there might be times where we kind of like, basically goblins are just moving in and out of the story. Like, if, for example, if G-Pain doesn't show up this week, and he hasn't RSVP'd yes, then he'll just disappear. Like, he'll just fade into the background. And the idea is that the other goblins are around, they're just not in the main scene, and we just hand wave whatever it is and make it so it works out. Because I've had other campaigns where someone gets busy or people get different schedules, and then you end up missing lots of sessions. My Hell's Vengeance campaign is full of that. Exactly. I've been playing the Hell's Vengeance one for like 5 years now. We're only just starting chapter 5 of the 6 chapter campaign because we took like gaps of like months in the middle of it and things like that. And I play with a bunch of friends that I've known for a while now, so it's easy to get back into it after a lapse. But yeah, if you're playing online or if you're playing with people that don't know each other very well, campaigns will die really quickly if you can't do that. But yeah, the idea is that we play every other week. We just took a month off because the summer people schedules were crazy. But yeah, we're supposed to play every other week with whoever comes. But yeah, so this hag hates Kirkee, and basically, so yeah, so basically the hag has a stack and Kirkee wants it, both as a powerful item and also to spite the witch to take it from her. And I haven't decided what the staff will be, but it'll be powerful enough that the goblins should consider taking it themselves. And that would royally piss off Kirkee. So the idea there, again, I wrote something. I don't know if it's here. I guess I didn't write it. But basically the general idea was that there was some sort of Hermes Mercury type figure that was flying between the islands and could deliver messages and items and trade and things like that. And he existed for a while, and he fell in love with Kirkee, obviously, because Kirkee's so beautiful. And the hag hated this. The hag hated hearing about it or seeing it or whatever it was. And so the hag has killed or imprisoned him. Haven't decided. I kind of want to go with kill because it's easier, it's cleaner. I don't want to have him free and then he's in the world moving around. But yeah, basically he has a staff. It's Hermes staff. It might be like a healing type staff is what I'm thinking. And the Kirkee wants it just for the powers, and also it's a memory of the guy. And long story short, Kirkee has killed, the hag has killed or imprisoned them, and Kirkee wants them to go back and take this staff. And one of the things we had talked about basically is that the hag might have nightmare magic. And I don't know how much Kirkee knows about this. I don't know how much Kirkee would tell the party about it. But the idea would be that when they're there, at some point they fall asleep. And I mentioned somewhere about it, like, I could hand wave that they all fall asleep or that she forces them asleep. Like they set up a watch. Or I could say that, like I said before, the other PCs that aren't in the session, maybe they're on watch during that. I just kind of hand wave it and say like, oh, you happen to all be asleep. And they kind of wake up in dream mode. And there's really cool effects in the game. Do I have those here? Like if I go, I thought they had the water one built into it, but I haven't updated in a long time. Or I haven't looked at it since I updated it. No. Is there like an underwater here? No. Oh, well, there is somewhere an underwater effect, which I will find again. Or maybe it's the wizard hat. Nope. Those are all things like that. Yeah, so there used to be an underwater effect, which I will find at some point. And basically I thought maybe adding that so like you're visibly in a dream mode. Like basically you're on the island, you're moving towards where you think the hag lives, as described by Kirkee, and you will you'll enter dream mode. And basically they wake up and they see that like they look kind of ethereal, like they look at the other goblins, they look ethereal, look at their own arms, and they see their sleeping bodies there, and they're unable to interact with them. And then I thought it'd be really cool to kind of be able to move through the island and inspect, search, scout the place they're going to in this ethereal state. And I haven't done a whole lot with it yet. Did I do any scenes at all? Let me see what I had. Dream Island. Yeah, so all I have is this Hag's Cave, which is a map I found on Reddit that I thought looks cool. So, they'd come in here and we'd add some hags and some witches, some covens, like things like that. I haven't really done all this legwork yet. But this is one of the places they're going to end up. And I think there'll be a couple other encounters on the island. I want to have a white-haired witch, or I guess there's not that class doesn't exist in Pathfinder 2, but they have feats that allow you to have like prehensile hair and your hair can make attacks. So I want to have Puck be able to meet and find and or talk to or kill a witch with magical hair. And then I wanted to kind of have this hag's cave that they have to come in and find this hag and they have to fight her. And she's got a bunch of like witches and like a whole coven of witches basically. But I thought it'd be a cool idea that, this is a very hard encounter. It's very, well defended, but maybe they can come in as ethereal dream bodied or whatever it is and scout it out or maybe do something ahead of time. So I haven't fully baked that idea, but that's another one of the places Kirkee can send them. But yeah, so the next session is going to be them picking up after breakfast and deciding what they want to do. And like I said before, I'm pretty sure Frankko and G-Pain are going to go right to the beach and try to build a boat. And I'm going to say that it takes at least 4 days for that to happen. Like, even if they work, all day, all night, if they started losing sleep, it would still take about 4 days. Which means Kirkee's around to talk to them. Presumably, they're going to stay at the villa. Maybe they don't. They're going to eat more. Kirkee's going to become more and more intrigued at why aren't they turning into animals. And eventually they can leave. But during that time, Even is going to be searching. Either for he's going to keep searching for his dwarves, or he and Squirrel might go hunting or something like that. And one thing that's going to happen is this pig chase. So in previous prep sessions, we had talked about it, where I was going to have Kirkee send them out and go hunt a pig. Basically, she was going to say, like, we're out of meat. I need you, like, if you would do me the favor, could you go and, like, go grab a pig, slaughter a pig, whatever it is. And the idea is that I was going to have them do this, and then during the actual act of catching it or slaughtering it, they would notice that the pig was one of the dwarves. Like, the leg has a dwarven tattoo on it that Even is familiar with or something like that. And it's pretty much, they've already figured out now that the animals are people. So Kirkee sending them to slaughter an animal, it's not going to work anymore. They're going to know it's a person. They're not going to want to do it, or they might have reservations about it. So I'm going to change it up a bit, because this is a skill-based encounter or check, what you want to call it, a challenge, and I still want to have it. So I've basically figured out that instead of having Kirkee go out and do that, if Even is out looking for the dwarves, or if Squirrel is out hunting for food or whatever, if they're in the woods, because I assume they're not just going to sit at the beach for 4 days, they will come upon this pig who has the tattoo. Like, they'll just be walking around, they'll have them make perception checks, and one of them will notice that this pig has, like, a dwarven tattoo on one of its legs. And they will go to chase it or whatever, and it'll run away. And that's kind of the idea there. And I want a funny kind of soundtrack for this. I don't have a good one. There was this washed up fight. I like this one a lot. I already used it, though, obviously, because I just said it was from the washed up fight. This is when they were fighting gremlins on the beach. And the gremlins, the pugwumpies, had this unluck aura, so people kept having to roll their d20s twice and take the worst result. So there were, like, lots and lots of misses going on. And it was a hilarious fight. So, yeah, those aren't visible. Okay. So basically, I want something silly and like that, but I'm not sure I want to play this one again, but I might. I'll have to see if there's a better song for it. But the idea here is that basically they're going to make it a skill-based thing, and maybe not all of them are there. Maybe G-Pain and Frankko are at the beach, and maybe it's just Even and Squirrel are in the woods or something like that. We'll see what happens. But basically, it's going to be a skill challenge where they have to catch the pig. So they're going to use whatever skills they can have and try to, like, spot the pig, use survival to track the pig, and how do you actually try to catch the pig? What do you do? And I've been watching a bunch of Matt Colville videos. I like a lot of the stuff he does. He mostly does 5e stuff, but you can kind of take a lot of his general ideas and abstract them into Pathfinder and stuff like that. And I like the idea of a skill challenge where you can't have the same person use the same skill twice, because I don't want, like, Squirrel making, oh, I'm the best at survival, so I'll make 5 survival checks and that'll be the end of the skill encounter. I want to have it, like, you can't use, maybe not just 2 in a row, or maybe, I don't know. I want to have it spread out a bit. So basically, Squirrel's, like, he can make a perception check, and then Even has to do something, and then someone else does it. Maybe you can't go until everybody else has gone, is one of the things Matt Colville had. So if all 4 of them are there, and Squirrel makes a survival check, and he aces it, obviously. And you don't want to have them dogpiling the skill, that's right. So basically have it so that everybody goes once. So if all 4 of them are there, like, all 4 of them have to make a check, and they have to describe what they're doing. And then again, maybe say something like, oh, you can't just use the same one over and over again. So like, you know, he'll make a survival check and then like even make a perception check, and then you get down to like, what do you do next? And it's like you can't use the skills that anyone else has used yet, and people are gonna be like, oh, I don't know, and you know they'll figure something out. They'll say like, oh well, I know a lot about nature. Can I use that to determine where I think it would go or things like that? Like basically they look at their skill sheet and see what they can do. I'm good at deception. Can I kind of fake out which way I'm going to go and force the pig to think, you know, I'm going the other way, like to kind of try to force the pig's direction, things like that. So, you know, I'll try my best to kind of encourage everybody to be clever with that. And in the past, in a session I had a long time ago, there was, if I go to scenes and I go to elf assaults, I did have this forest chase scene, which was similar. This was a chase as per like the actual Pathfinder 2 chase rules. But it was the same sort of thing where there was this elf guerrilla leader, and I don't know where it actually ended up. Oh, the guerrilla leader ended up, the token is missing. Oh, he's here. And basically, they were moving on this track based on their skill checks. And I was having, at this point, I was having everybody make one, and then the guerrilla would make it, like, if there were 3 people, he'd make 3 checks himself. And a crit success moved them up 2, a success moved them up 1, a failure kept them still, a crit failure moved them backwards. And, you know, they were like little markers like, oh, this is like the ground is soft here. This is climbing uphill. This is avoiding a bear's nest and things like that. And I asked them, like, what skills would you use? And they were pretty clever. They were coming like, oh, there's a bunch of pit traps in the beginning. And Frankko was like, are there vines around? I'm like, hell yeah, there are vines around. Hey, Crimson, how you doing, buddy? It's been a while. I haven't streamed in like a month because the summer happened and people are vaccinated and doing things for the first time like in a year and a half. So it was hard to schedule a session. But yeah, so I was just going over the forest chase I did a while back, and the pig chase now that I'm doing. And it's kind of the same thing. It's not really a chase scene. This is basically the Matt Colville you know, successes versus failures. I think Pathfinder has its own rule set or a similar rule set to this. And basically, I'm going to go through. I'm going to basically have everybody go in order. You can't go again before everybody else is gone, and you can't use the same sort of skills. Exactly. But they're going to notice, like I said, in the original plan for this scene, I was going to have Kirkee send them to go hunt and get meat. And now they've figured out, I'm pretty sure they are now fully aware that the animals are people, or at least some of the animals are people. So I don't think I can send them out with Kirkee to go get the bacon right now. So I think they're basically just going to stumble onto one of these pigs and see that it has the dwarven rune tattoo on its arm and figure out, like, if animals are people and this has a dwarven rune, we should probably catch this pig. And then it'll turn into this chase. The pig will be terrified. Because, again, I'm ruling that they're not like, the pig doesn't remember it's a dwarf. It doesn't have its memories, it doesn't have its intelligence. It's just a pig. So they're going to, like, try to catch the pig or maybe try to calm it down, but it's going to freak out and bolt. And then they're going to have to track it, spot it, trick it, whatever they want to do. Basically, use skills. And I'm going to enforce, again, everybody goes in order, and you can't use a skill someone else has already used. But I have 8 successes, so that's a lot. So at some point, I think I have to allow them to reuse a skill. Because, like, what could they use? Like, they could use, like, stealth, survival, nature, intimidation, deception, athletics. I mean, I guess there are enough skills, but at some point, I think I'd let them use it. Maybe you'd say you can only use it once until you get to 4 or something. Like, I don't know. I'll have to figure out a good way to word it, because I want to frame it well so that they know what they're getting into. I don't want to just kind of be hand-waving the rules as it's happening. I want to be able to set the stage and say, this is how it works. You go in order, you do this, you do that. You can't reuse a skill until this. And then boom. And essentially, they need to make 8 successes before 4 failures. And I guess crit successes I might count as 2. I probably will. Just to keep things going. Like, if you crit succeed in a survival check, you should get a bonus. But long story short, they need to make all these successes before they fail 4 times, or the pig gets away. And if they succeed, I'm thinking what I'll do is I will have them roll up on this den. So if they chase the pig far enough, they will come upon this den. And it's worth noting, do I have this set up or not? So basically, this is, it's hard to see because I'm in the GM view. Can I view as a player? If I click on even, does it do that? No, it doesn't do that. So there's actually a tile on top of this. And I can't really like. So basically, this is it when it's unhidden. So this is what the background actually looks like when you take the top off, and when this is on. Maybe I'll join as a player. Oh no, I don't want to actually update the map. But I promise you that it's hidden. Like basically, you see like this translucent thing here. Like this is actually it looks hidden. Like all you see is this opening of the mouth of the den, and when you click on this, it actually opens up so you can go inside and have to fight inside. So it's kind of like an invisible roof, or what do you want to call it, a removable roof. Cersei turned Wonder Woman into a pig, and Batman tries to find. I haven't seen that, but yeah, that's pretty much the gimmick. That's exactly the gimmick. This is a classic Greek mythology. So yeah, so they're gonna have this pig chase, and I want that to be like a really silly encounter where they're using their skills to follow and or catch this pig, and I want the pig to lead them back to this den, and then because again, he even wants to find the dwarf. So I don't think he'd want to just catch this one. I think he'd want to follow it. So we'll see what happens. But the idea is that they follow the pigs back to this den, and lo and behold, there is this tattooed dire boar, which is not for nothing. I actually made it. It's weak. I think I forget the name of the animal. It's a diamodon or something like that. I forget. It's not an actual dire boar. I couldn't find a dire boar in the bestiary for whatever reason. But the yeah, I don't think I actually have a. Yeah, I renamed it, so I don't have it. But it's a diamodon or something like that. And but it's essentially a boar, and it is a badass. Like it has 45 hit points. It's a CR3. I actually made it weak because it was too strong. It has a plus 12, and the damage rolls are 2d8 plus 4. That's a lot. Like even has 38 hit points. That could get really bad really fast. And that's including with the weak, the -2 to hit and -2 to damage. And it also has this charge, so basically it can stride twice and make an attack, and it throws you around. You make a reflex save or be moved 5 feet, knocked prone. So essentially, they're going to follow this pig back to this den, and I assume some poor idiot is going to go to the mouth of the den, and this dire boar is going to just run like this and throw them. I thought about making it move more than 5 feet, because they're goblins. I might make it 10 feet. I'd change the text so that it's not like sneaking up on them. But I thought it'd be really funny to have them kind of run through and knock somebody back 10 feet and kind of clear up the opening. And then you'd be fighting this dire boar. And it's going to, again, be very obvious this is Auric. I'm not changing around the art or anything like that. But if I go over here, like, do I have Auric? I do. Like, this is what Auric looks like. It's like a Blood Hunter art I found on Reddit. But yeah, like again, he's gonna have like, you know, his face has this tattoo on it. He'll even have like a mohawk. His mane will be in a mohawk, and he'll have the forearms will have the dwarven rune tattoos on it. It's very visibly Auric for anybody who remotely knows him. But yeah, he's gonna run out of this thing and, you know, basically just gore somebody and knock him down, and then it's a fight. And this should be a tough one. They are level 2, it's a CR3, and I have these juvenile boars. I don't know if I want to have them fight. These are just regular boars from the bestiary. I think they might actually be juvenile boars. And they, you know, they still hit. I mean, it's not, again, not for nothing. But they'll be a little easier to deal with. And presumably they want to take them alive. So that's 2 scenes. So there's probably going to be a 3rd scene, which will be mostly role-playing. I figure, again, we're picking up right after breakfast at Kirkee's villa. They're going to talk a bit, head out. Maybe they role play with Kirkee some more. I don't know. I'm going to just roll with it, whatever they want to do. Then I think they're going to want to go to the beach. And I don't really have anything prepared for that. I'm just going to show them this map again and say that they see this and a bunch of other shipwrecks. And I think they've already made a sailing lore check. Maybe I'll make them make a fresh one. And then a craft check to basically say, like, okay, you think that with all these scraps, you can cobble together a boat, but it'll take you like 3 to 4 days, depending on how well you craft. And then every day I'll have them make 1 or 2 craft checks. Maybe I'll allow them to assist each other. I don't know. I haven't figured it out. But basically, I'll hand wave something so that it takes 3 to 4 days of crafting, and they have to decide what else they want to do during that time. And one of the things I hope that they do, and if they don't actually go out and do it themselves, I'll just force it. I'll say, like, as you're walking to the beach the next morning, you stumble on this pig. And then we'll have the pig chase. So there'll be one scene on Washed Up. There'll be some role-playing, some talking, some planning, figuring out how we're going to get this boat. Then there'll be this pig chase. And then hopefully the pig chase leads to the den. I assume they're going to succeed. I mean, again, I hope they don't fail. If they fail, they're going to have to figure something else out. Yeah, exactly. The boar is, yeah, that's true. It's small, so a medium character maybe go further. I can kind of just hand wave it and say, "Oh yeah, you're small, so it's 10 feet," and it's more funny than anything. I mean, I'm not trying to min max the tactics of the boar, and it's not going to be doing that dire boar charge all the time. But I especially want that initial scene. If someone isn't standing in front of this thing, they're getting charged. They're getting just thrown. And I thought it'd be hilarious to have like a goblin end up over there. This boar is just sticking his head out of the thing. Um, so yeah, and it also has ferocity, which is pretty cool. They like basically you have to take them down to wounded 4, which means that after you get into 0, you still have to hit them. I think like wounded 3. Sorry, you have to get them. You have to hit them 3 more times, unless you crit. If you crit, their wounded goes up by 2. So yeah, like it's a beast. And then these tiny boars, maybe they won't attack at the beginning. Like I won't have them jump into the fight initially. So I don't want to, again, I don't want to murder the players with this, but I want it to be thematic and blah blah blah. And maybe I take another boar and put it over here because I think they are going to bring a boar with them, if that makes sense. So let's call this 2 and 3. And they're all dwarves. All of these boars are dwarves that were in their party. And I made them boars and pigs because they were gluttonous in the town in the previous sessions when we were in the town of Faith, which is the elven town that their army was occupying. They were gluttonous in eating all the food and basically stressing out the elves that lived there, taking all their food and stuff like that. So I kind of made them, they're pigs, basically. And yeah, so they're gonna come here. They're gonna notice that this pig. They're gonna do the pig chase. Notice it's a dwarf. Come over here. Hopefully follow it all the way to the thing, and then have this fight. And I think that might be a whole session. I feel like I should have something else, but I think that's already the whole session. I think that's everything. I especially if they talk to Kirkee, if like they do their first day and they come back and they talk to Kirkee, they have dinner or anything like that. I think that's probably already 3 hours. Obviously things can happen that might surprise me and I should have something else, but I don't really want to throw too much more at them. One encounter that I had statted up ready to go if I needed it was this I called it Rolling Hills, but basically there's this big stag, and I've shown them a stag before, and I've stressed to them that they thought stag was out of their yes, basically dwarves in the Hobbit. Yes, they are not far from that. You're right. Just constantly just grabbing turkey legs and just sloppy grease everywhere. Gilmy is not a stretch from where they are. But yeah, so this is basically a filler encounter in case I need it. They have encountered some gremlins on the island when they first woke up on the beach, and I basically have this set up now. So there was a stag that they saw, and I impressed upon Squirrel with his knowledge nature check or nature lore check, whatever it was, that this stag was out of his league. Basically, like, this would be a very hard fight to kill a stag. It's not like you're going to shoot an arrow and have a great dinner. It'd be a very big problem before they figured out animals are people and all that. But long story short, these gremlins think they can take on a stag. So there's going to be 4 of them. I think I have. Are there more hiding? Oh, there's also a pixie. Oh, and there's a Jenkins. So there's actually a couple things here. It's kind of a lot. I think I have 1, 2. A pug won't be a misfit. Yeah, it's a mifflet. So basically, there's a bunch of these gremlins that are trying to kill this stag. So if I need a filler encounter while they're walking through the jungle, I'll just say, yeah, you know what? You come upon these gremlins that have attacked the stag, and the stag is going to be thrashing them. Like, the stag does not mess around. 13 damage is is enough to kill one of these things. So yeah, so yeah, do they have resistance? No, they have weaknesses. They don't have resistances. So yeah, so basically they're going to come upon these gremlins that are jumping the stag and just getting thrashed. And they can decide, do they want to just stand and watch? Do they want to fight the gremlins? Do they want to help the stag? Do they want to wait and see if the stag gets hurt and then hurt the stag? It's up to them, because now they know in the back of their minds that animals are people. This one isn't part of their party. I don't want to have every animal they encounter be part of their party. But basically, this one's been here for a while. but yeah, that's like a filler encounter. So that's if I need it, I have it. And there was another one that I had. This one we've already done. We did the Fallen Tree one. I started another one, but I didn't like where it was going. Where was it? Odyssey, Kirkee's Islands. This waterfall one is pretty cool because it has there's a hidden thing. I didn't actually put it on, but if I go here and I move this tile, like there is actually, I'd have to line it up better. But oh, it just goes right on top, right? There you go. Close enough, yeah. So basically, you can set it up so that there is like an opening, like underneath a waterfall. There's a tiny little cave, and I had originally wanted to use this as the watering hole map. I ended up like they have this watering hole map. This is what I ended up going with. But this I started this waterfall one as that. I was just gonna hide the hole in it. But I was thinking it'd be really cool if I need another encounter, if they're coming to this waterfall and they can make a perception check to notice there's something behind the waterfall. And then I could have like a bunch of the gear. Like maybe Kirkee hides things here. Like maybe they go here and they find all of the other, like Apilius's sword and all these other things are here from all of the missing people. I think that might be an interesting thing. I don't think I need that anymore. I'm pretty sure they've already decided that humans are people and that they can figure out that it's happening. But this was kind of another filler encounter I was going to have. I also have, this is the lion that's the graying lion that Kirkee rides. I also have here this panther. I wrote some notes about this and didn't actually do anything with it yet. So I thought the panther could have been like a Kirkee's old favored pet, like maybe whoever she was talking to in the past or whatever. Basically again her favorite pet. That's the right way to say it. And now that she has Apilia, she has this lion. He's out in the cold, so basically he's not so much jealous, but scorned. And I was thinking maybe he would follow the party around, and he wouldn't be like prowling like a panther, and he'd be he would be kind of calm and mildly intelligent, but he's following the party curiously, and they have to deal with the fact that there's a panther like in their midst the whole time. Do they want to attack it, things like that. So I thought maybe that would be a cool thing, that if they were just wandering the jungle, maybe make some perception checks and see if they notice a panther. And then maybe it might make sense to have more jungle maps ready that I could just randomly pick one and say, okay, you're fighting the panther here now, or whatever it is. But that's pretty much it. So I said it was going to be a short one. I'm probably going to stop in a little bit, but that's the general idea for the next session. I've gone over what happened last session. I've gone over my idea for the next one. So there's the villa, the beach, the pig chase, the den, and the backup encounter if I need it. And again, I want to impress upon them that they're going to be here for multiple days. They're going to have to hang out with Kirkee or avoid Kirkee for multiple days. And I'm hoping they don't avoid her. And like I said, if they do, if they try to say, oh, we're just going to sleep on the beach or we're going to sleep in the woods next to the beach, Kirkee's going to find them. Kirkee's just going to stumble into them and say, oh, hi, yeah, I talked to the birds. They haven't found any dwarves. And kind of just try to invite them back. I want them to keep coming back. I want them to keep trying to eat the food. And I want Kirkee to keep trying to turn them into animals and failing. Yeah, especially in the early levels, like you do normal things. Like it's you have like you just have random stuff happening. You gotta there's animals, there's low level monsters. Not everything has to be like a high level match. You're not always like slinging spells at genies and stuff like that. And like I said, maybe I go to this waterfall, or maybe we have that panther following them, and it's just like your second level characters. Your squirrel's a great hunter. Even is a horrible barbarian that bites things, but and Puck is a Cosmos Oracle with a floating hair around and whatever. But at the end of the day, like there's a panther in the jungle following you around. Does that bother you? Like, and you keep noticing it, and it's not like on top of you. It's obviously not hunting you or prowling. It's just consistently behind you. Every once in a while, you just happen to notice it over your shoulder, and it's definitely watching you, and it's curious. What do you do about it? And yeah, I think I might throw a map together for that. But I'm pretty sure I've got the next session in hand. So I should probably start trying to get ahead of things again. Like I said, I started a little bit about the Hag Island that I wanted to go with, but I don't have anything concrete. I should really get that going, because at the end of the day, they're going to build this boat and they're going to leave. And then they can decide where they want to go. But yeah, I think I'm gonna call it there. Thanks for hanging out. Crimson and the name I could not pronounce earlier. Is it Takim? Is that wrong? Is that close? Thank you for joining me. Thank you for hanging out. It's been great talking to you guys. It's been a while, especially Crimson. You've been around for a couple times now, so thanks for checking me out. We play again this Saturday. That's when this session's going to happen. And then I'm going to try to get back into doing the streams for the session prep stuff on a more regular basis. It's been kind of a crazy time with again, everything opening up with the COVID vaccine out, and my toddler has been having lots of trouble sleeping, which has been not very fun. So yeah, thanks for watching. If you are watching this on YouTube, like, thumbs up, hit that bell, all that stuff. I don't have the whole spiel. Come check me out. I'm on Twitch, and I'm on YouTube, and I'm on Twitter, all Jmoskie, Jmoskie. Check me out. I need more followers on Twitch. I want to be able to get the coins and stuff, whatever you have. So basically, when you do stuff in the chat during the session, you can like use coins to give hero points, stuff like that. So please come on Twitch and follow me if you haven't already. And yeah, if you like my stuff, let me know. Come hang out. Comment here. Comment on Twitch. Comment on YouTube. And thanks a lot. I'll talk to you guys later. Bye. Good night.